Hello again, sports fans, and welcome back to the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Coming to you live from the Pizza Ranch studio and presented by Central Bank of the Ozarks, Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks, Doak Propane, Great Southern Bank, Labor's Local 663, and the Bank of Billings. Certainly glad that you have tuned in. We've got an all-star cast here among us, making a return visit. The managing editor of PrepsKC.com, Dion Clisso. And Dion, thanks for coming back this week.
Well, it's a fun time to just be able to sit around and talk a little football right before the game start.
Absolutely. And another friend of the show, the Hall of Famer, Earl Austin Jr., coming to us from St. Louis. Earl, thanks so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And making his debut, the SID, so to speak, for the GRC conference there coming out of St. Joe is Mr. Jeremy Benson. Jeremy, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
And we're going to start. I got to give Dion some preps because last week he said Smithfield's run would come to an end. 16 consecutive wins. He thought that Kearney might get him, and they did, 20-19. But Kearney ends their winning streak, and Kearney's pretty good, and Smithfield maybe a little bit down. But tell us your thoughts on that game.
Well, Smithville, I think, is what they're running into is they graduate. I mean, they only had, I think, 4 back on each side of the ball. So, the year before they brought back 19 of 22 or 20 of 22 of guys that had played and that were in the semifinals the year before and really good enough to win a state championship. They blew a coverage against Elias that they would have had that game won. But no, I think Kearney's a little bit better than people thought at the beginning of the season. They're playing really well now. They've got to be careful. They've got Excelsior Springs this week. They can't get caught looking down the road for other big games, but a lot of their big games are already behind them. They got Platte County, Fort Osage, and Smithville the first 3 weeks. They handle that business, and they're looking like a pretty good team. And like I said, the Excelsior Springs, they run split back veer. You don't see it all the time, and that's always a fun challenge when you have to prepare for that in 1 week. And I'll be curious to see how that game goes. Kearney's a favorite in that game, but definitely it's going to be an interesting one.
As you look around your area, Blue Spring South, a team that for years you could kind of count on them going to the Final Four, getting into the state championship. They've struggled a little bit. They seem to be coming back a little bit and making a little run.
Yeah, they won it in 2015. The next 3 years, their talent level was down a little bit, but they were in a district title game just 2 years later under John Euler. He stepped down after 3 years, and they hired Matt Klein, who was at Marquette for a little while. And it didn't. The talent kind of dropped off a little bit, and it just didn't go well. Klein won 3 games his first year, 1 game his next year, and they went 0 for last year. So they made a change, and in fact, Klein's over at Blue Springs. He's one of their coaches over there. But Alan Wilmus came over from Park Hill South, where he had them undefeated in the regular season last year. Really had built that program the last few years. He was allowed to bring 7 assistants with him, which is something you rarely see that many assistants in a high school level. It's almost like a college changeover. They really kind of tried to change the whole attitude, and Blue Spring South had become a team that just couldn't win games. They'd get close and they couldn't, close things out. First game of the season, they get a big on Lee Summit. Lee Summit comes back, cuts to like 3 points, and then they close that game out. They lost to a really good Rockers for week 2, but then last week they were down 18 points in the fourth quarter with about 6 minutes to go, and they come back and beat Park Hill 50-49. So they've got Ray Peck this week, which is going to be, outside of Rockers, their biggest test. I think they've got a puncher's chance because their offense is really dynamic. And Ray Peck's defense is not very good, but at the same time, Blue Spring South defense struggles as well. So, if you could keep it within 1 score and have the ball in your hands last, I think that's probably what Blue Spring South's looking to do this week.
Yeah, a lot of high scores.
Yeah.
You look into the St. Louis area where Mr. Austin has, spends his time. What are some of the surprises? 3 weeks into the season here in the St. Louis area.
Teams that have kind of stepped up. Lindbergh, they're 3-0. Rushing the ball. Niak, I think his name is, and then Francis House Central is 3-0, kind of building up a little bit. Get a big test tonight, though. They got to host Troy, who's 2-0 against Hannibal last week. A real shootout. That was a heck of a game on Saturday night. So those are a couple done well. Other than that, you've kind of got a lot of the usual suspects that you hear about, whether it's in a lot of the smaller schools. But it's good to see some of the new blood kind of sort of fray early in the season as well.
Yeah, we had Scott Pingle on earlier this week from CBC, and he's got an outstanding running back there with Ralph Dixon, who's maybe undersized a little bit there at CBC. But then you go up into the Hannibal area, and you've got maybe the number one running back in the country there in Aeneas Williams. Have you had an opportunity to see either one of those guys?
Yeah, I watched the game last freshman year. I had a brother-in-law that was an assistant coach at MICDS a couple of years ago, and they played in Hannibal, and Susan Aeneas was a freshman. And I see this kid run on the field and look like a college junior in high school, and he's a man already, and yeah, he's amazing. The game something else, and I saw him at the state track meet. He was just in a track meet without pads on and everything. Did he really? Yeah, he runs, catches the ball, blocks, does whatever. Fast and big, strong. He does everything. He's fun to watch. There's no doubt about it.
And you've got Cardinal Ritter, who's playing well. Vashon, it was a team coming into the season where I thought they may make some noise after their late season run, a year ago, and had Coach Franklin on, last year, week 6, and he won. And he called me. He said, "You got to have me on again." So he was on like week 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. He kept coming back until he lost. But are those teams, are they faring well up there in the area?
Yeah, Vashon is 1-1, and their only loss was the Cardinals. Vashon won their first game. They were down 27-6 at Kirkwood, and then they scored three touchdowns. A man named D.R. Hill, one of the top running backs in the state. He's just a sophomore. Got a lot of offers, all player too as well. Then they ran into Cardinal Ritter the following week, and Ritter handled them pretty good. Cardinal Ritter stayed semifinals last year, lost on that 21-20 to St. Pius, and they got a good, and McKay's an excellent quarterback, and they're looking to do some nice things. And they got a tough one tonight. They go to Helias tonight in a conference game, so they're both 3-0. Small schools with Shines in Class 4. MICDS is also having another strong season, and looking really, really solid this season so far.
Well, Fred Bouchard, he spent some time coaching right here in my backyard at Bolivar, and then he was at Harrisonville, then he was at Stately, and he's just won everywhere he's gone.
Everywhere. Got to the state finals, and then last year looked like they were headed to the state finals until Smithville staged that just in the last 8 minutes, which led to their state championship last year and win at Ron Holtman Stadium at MICDS. They've only lost one, and until Smithville went in there and scored those last 3 touchdowns. So I was there. That was a tremendous call. MICDS seems to have it going again.
And Jeremy Benson up in the St. Joe area kind of keeps an eye on the GRC, which is a lot of the smaller schools, and a few 8-man schools as well. What have been your impressions of the season here in week 3?
Well, so far in the GRC, just a little bit of background. GRC, Grand River Conference, has both an 8-man division and 11-man division. It's a little unique conference up in Northwest and northern Missouri. On the 11-man side, right now Gallatin is the class of the conference. They're starting out 3-0. They're ranked number 6 in Class 1. They really have had good teams in the past. They won the conference last year, but once they ran into, I would say, talented KCI teams, they haven't been able to beat them. But I think this year this might be a little bit different. They had Hamilton Penny in the second week of the season, beat them 40-0. I mean, Penny might be down a little bit this year, but I was at that game and they had 20 points after 2 offensive plays. They had a pick 6 in between their first possession and their second possession, and they just smacked Hamilton in the mouth and didn't look back, and it was a 40-0 victory. They're really talented. They've got returning pretty much everyone on their team. They've got a good mix of of running and passing. In the past, they've been mostly a passing team, and they've got a new coach, Chris Holt, this year, who came from Lathrop and Maryville, and he has really changed the culture at Gallatin, and they're not airing it out like before, and he's really made them physically tougher. And so I think they're going to be a team that can battle the Buchanans, the Mid Buchanan and the East Buchanan, who have really been the dominant teams in Class 1 in this area. They're really going to be challenged by Trenton this year. Trenton's a Class 2 team in the conference. Trenton is really senior laden. They had a lot of players that were freshmen and sophomore that played a lot, and they're now all seniors, and they're right now also sitting at 3-0, and they have a big game against Putnam County, who's also at 3-0. And Putnam's really been the surprise of the 11-man side. They were picked to finish 7th by the coaches, but they're one of the 3 teams right now. They're sitting 3-0 in the conference, and Putnam and Trenton are facing each other tonight, and should be a battle between the 2 teams. They're really good running teams, but that's really the 11-man side right now for the GRC. And then on the 8-man side, GRC is really the dominant conference 8-man, and there's 8-man's really expanded in the state of Missouri. I would say probably about 10 years ago, it was probably a little niche thing in just Northwest Missouri, and it really wasn't heard of anywhere else. I know it's expanding down there to the south. You have the WeMo now and Drexel winning the state championship last year, and you even have a few teams that are even farther south, like Greenfield and College Heights Christian out of Joplin. And so it's expanded down into the south part of Missouri too. But the GRC has really been one of the top conferences in 8-man. They were, I would say, down the last few years, although Worth County did make it state last year. They're strong again, despite losing 6 players that were all conference last year. They're strong again, and they're facing Albany tonight, who's probably the surprise team. They're 3-0. Both of those teams are 3-0 coming into tonight. Worth County's got a really strong running game. Albany's got a good mix of running and passing, but that's a big matchup tonight in the GRC between those two 3-0 teams.
Outstanding. We had maybe the game of the week last week down here with Carthage and Nixa, a game that Nixa scored with 1:57 left on the clock and made it 21-20, and decided to go for 2. Didn't want to go to overtime at Carthage. A Carthage team that they're just going to pound it out. They're not a real good passing team, and Coach Perry thought with 1:57 left, I'm going to make him go the full length of the field, to beat us, and didn't want to go to overtime. And they throw a little fade route and get that 2-point conversion to a kid that they talked into coming out, who was an all-state basketball player, decides to come out and play wide receiver there at Nixa, and he makes that catch. This week, in the area, when you talk about teams down here, you got Mount Vernon's playing Central. Central's a Class 5 team, but they're really Class 3 because a lot of the kids are IB students and they don't play sports. They so they got a third of them that aren't playing, and maybe a third of them are ineligible. So they're just using a third of their class of their school size. But Shem Johnson's done a tremendous job. Well, they're taking on a Marionville team that's state ranked and undefeated, but they get them at home. So that's an interesting matchup. You've got Webb City at Joplin. Joplin team that's beaten Webb City each of the last 2 seasons. And, so that's a good matchup. Then you got it, in the Big 8, you've got 2 3-0 teams with Seneca hosting Lamar. And Lamar is probably still the class of not only Class 2, although Blair Oaks is making a great case. But Lamar right now is probably the class of Class 2. I don't think Seneca can get them, but we'll see. That's an interesting game down here. And then a Mount Vernon team that's 3-0 that was 1-10 a year ago, but they were starting 8 freshmen, and now those kids are sophomores. They only had 1 senior on the team last year, and so they're going to be good here. Their freshman quarterback, Gavin Johnston, just had a good year. I'm sorry, sophomore quarterback. He was a freshman last year. Sophomore quarterback, he's having a decent season. They're 3-0. They just come off of beating Aurora, and Mount Vernon, unfortunately, has dropped to Class 2. So they're in that district with Lamar. And they're in a conference where there's 4 Class 4 schools, and it rotates the schedule-wise, but Mount Vernon's got to play all 4 Class 4 schools. and one of them is tonight in Logan Rogersville, but that's going to be at Mount Vernon. So those are some of the games tonight in the Southwest Missouri that are interesting. And Mount View Liberty has, they've had a tremendous start to their season. They're 3-0 as well right now. And Dion, just in your area, what are some games tonight that you're going to be particularly focused on?
Well, that Blue Spring South Ray-Pac games I want to keep an eye on. In 5A, you've got Platte County and Green Valley. They've played a lot over the last few years. It's a regular season game. Platte County beats North Kansas City last week and does it easily. Their 2 losses are combined 10 points to Kearney and Smithville. So I think you may see the Pirates kind of take back off and get going again. You've got Van Horn, who's 3-0, going to Richmond, who's 3-0. And, Richmond's Class 2, Van Horn's Class 4, but that's a good game for both those teams. I think Richmond's probably the favorite there. You've got some rivalry games. You've got Oak Grove, Odessa. They're not the Oak Grove and Odessa a few years ago. So that one's maybe not quite as good as it's been. But, we've got a few games up here this week. We've got some good cross-state line games that are going to be next week. You've got the Rockhurst and Bishop Miege. You've got like a Blue Valley Northwest and Lee Summit North. And so there's some big-time Kansas, Missouri games that are going to happen over the next couple of weeks as teams start to kind of – like the KCI teams are in conference now. Midland Empire's in conference. Maryville St. Pius is probably the biggest game there. So that's definitely going to be a game to keep an eye on. I think Maryville might be sneaky good. I think that if they can be sneaky good, being in Class 3 is maybe a bonus for them getting out of the city, out of the Kansas City area, just because in 2 they might have run into Lamar in the semis or Blair Oaks or depending on how it all shakes out and they actually have a quarterback who can throw the ball. We did a podcast with Matt Webb and there's only audio, but we did it over Zoom, and the look on his face was he looked like a pretty confident dude because they got a guy who can throw the football. He's a point guard on the basketball team, and he said he watches he watches a lot of 15 on Sundays, and he's making all these off-platform throws and everything. He said, I told him as long as I don't go to the other team, I don't care how you get it there. He said that they're throwing the ball a little more than they have, and they've got guys that can do it. They got some good skill guys. So St. Pius is good. They're young. I think this group might be more talented in the end in the next couple of years than the one they had that went to back-to-back state championship games, but they're still a little, young in that sense. So Maryville St. Pius is probably the biggest game in Class 3 because they're both in the same district. It's a Midland Empire Conference game. You throw Savannah into that mix, and those 3 schools are all going to be fighting for that number 1 seed. And I think if you're anybody, you don't necessarily want to go to anybody's home field of those 3 for a district championship game. Yeah,
and it's you look at Maryville. Matt Webb also has a connection to my backyard. His wife is from Bolivar, so I've known Matt for a little bit. And then the head coach at Savannah, Anthony Hayes, played here at SBU. Then he went up. He coached some 8-man up north in northwest part of the state, and then came back to Parkview. Then he was at Branson, and now he's at Savannah. I think this is his first year there at Savannah. But Earl, what about in the St. Louis area? What games are you going to be paying particular attention to?
Big one tonight is this game. St. Mary's visits Lutheran St. Charles in the Archdiocesan Athletic Association game. They're winning state championships. It was a heck of a year for their conference. St. Mary's one moved up to Class 4 this year. They were arguably one of the top 2 or 3 teams in St. Louis last year, regardless of Charles won their first state championship last year against Lamar, 28-27 games. Hook up tonight. That should be an excellent game, I think. Well, St. Mary's looking strong. They're 2-1, but they're 1 loss. Naperville, Neuqua Valley, which is like a Class 8 school in Illinois. That's their only loss last year. It was like 25-22 at St. Mary's. Last week it was 21-20 up in Chicago. Yeah, it should be, especially if you're losing St. Charles, to see where you stack up as well. And in St. Charles County, Francis Howell Central 3-0, get a real test against Troy Buchanan, and Francis Howell 3-0. Which moved down to 5A this year. They'll host Francis Howell off to a good start this season. Records may not show, but Vashon 1-1 will go tonight. Now St. Louis U High is 0-3, but they got a lot of talent. They got Ryan Wingo, one of the best junior country at wide receiver, and Vashon coming off a loss 2 weeks ago with a bye week, see if they can back up schedule that they have. So those are a few of them. Priory, 2-1. We'll also go to him tomorrow, who's 3-0 in Metro League contest.
Very good. Very good. We'll have all eyes on all the games around the state right here at the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. And Jeremy, what are some big games there in the GRC tonight?
Well, I mentioned Worth County, Albany, and Putnam County, Trenton. I would say those are probably the two biggest games. I mean, there's most of the other teams are from excuse me, got a little tripped up there. Are really some of the teams that are lower in the conference. So North Andrew, who is the other unbeaten team, they actually have a bye this week. They were supposed to play Northland Christian, and Northland Christian is in the Kansas City area. They had a lot of numbers issues, and really some people said that'd probably be the number one team in 8-man versus the number 40 team, which is the number of teams in 8-man. And so they decided they weren't going to go play North Andrew this week. So they forfeited that game. But I would say those are the two big games, and we'll see if Gallatin continue to win. They played Polo this week. That was Gallatin's only loss in the conference last year, 13-12, and so it's a little bit of a revenge game for Gallatin. And so I think they're probably going to be motivated in that game to knock off Polo. And then another interesting one for the Grand River Maysville. They've been a little bit of an up and down team this year. And so we'll look to see whether they continue up and down this week. And so they've scored 70 in their first week, got shut out in their second week, and won their game last week. Yeah, game last week, 30-6. So I'm interested to see whether which team's going to show up. The one that scored 70 the first week or got shut out the second week. So. But outside the GRC in the area, Maryville Pius is one that's obviously interesting in this area too. We've got Maryville up here against Pius down in Kansas City. Derek Quinlan's the name of the quarterback that you were talking about. Definitely very talented. What's interesting about this game is the winner of this game has won the MEC every year since Pius has been in the MEC. So it's definitely a very big game. I'm sure Savannah would like to end that streak, but it's been pretty much the winner. And these two teams have combined for 3 state championship games in the past 2 seasons. So they're very talented teams. The other ones you mentioned, the KCI, Mid-Buck and East Buck have definitely been the class of the league in the last few years. Mid-Buck plays Lawson tonight. East Buck plays Lathrop. Lawson and Lathrop are probably in that next group with West Platte right now. And so while Mid-Buck and East Buck are most likely favored in these games, they have a shot, Lawson and Lathrop, at probably an upset tonight. I would say Mid-Buck and East Buck will probably win, but they're definitely games that East Buck and Mid-Buck will probably get a little bit more challenged tonight. But the other game I'm just going to throw out, it's not in the Northwest area, but because I'm an alum of Monroe City High, the number 1 ranked team in Class 1 right now, they're playing South Shelby tonight. Both teams are 3-0 and both ranked in Class 1. I'm going to throw that as another game I'll keep my eye on. So
very good. Well, Dion, folks want to follow along tonight. How do they follow along? Go to prepskc.com. What's your Twitter handle?
At PrepsKC, and also we've got an app. If you wanted to download an app, we've got an app that go to the Apple Store, and that's a great way to keep up with us as well. And our Twitter account's really engaging. We kind of point you in different directions. We'll have live stats from about 25 to 30 games, like an ESPN.com. Of course, a scoreboard for about 60 games on both sides of the state line. And then we'll have full coverage, 20-plus games coverage, and all the standings, everything you need from right there, right at PrepsKC.com.
Good. Earl, how do people follow along where you're going to be tonight?
At Earl Austin Jr. I'll be not only just keeping track of all the reports. I'll retweet whatever, so keeping what's going on around St. Louis, and also work in newspaper every Thursday too. We have a prep football roundup each week as well.
Outstanding. Jeremy, how do folks follow along at GRC? Is it at GRC on Twitter?
It's at Grand River Conf, so Grand River CONF on both Facebook and Twitter. Also, every Friday I cover a game within the Grand River Conference. I have a podcast after the game, has coaches interviews with also a discussion with one of the media members in the area. So I'll be having a discussion with Clifton Grooms, who also has a podcast in the St. Joe area. Yeah. And so him and I are going to have a discussion. I'll be attending the St. Joe Christian Bishop LeBlond, which is a crosstown 8-man game within St. Joe tonight. And so we'll have a recap of that game tonight, and then I'll have a blog tomorrow on that. But also every week I post a blog of a GRC Power Poll, so I rank the teams in the GRC, and then have other coverage on my blog too, and podcasts of the other sports within the GRC. And so links to those can be found there. But if you want to go directly to the blog, it's blog.grandriverconference.com, and the podcast is podcast.grandriverconference.com. And if everything else on the Grand River Conference, you can go to grandriverconference.com. And so those are all the places you can find me.
Outstanding. Well, gentlemen, this has been, I look forward to this all week, and Bailey's, she's at Lindbergh and they're 3-0 and she bailed on us, but it's their homecoming parade. So she's out taking video of the homecoming parade. And so what we'll
go Flyers.
Yes. Hey, my dad was a football coach at Lindbergh for this. Now you got to go back to the early 70s, but he was coaching there with Stan Mack. I don't know if you remember Stan Mack, that name. And but that was before he was on that staff. Well, gentlemen, I greatly appreciate it, and we're gonna I'm gonna play a commercial. Bid these gentlemen a thank you and an adieu. We'll come back and we'll talk with. We'll play some interviews with our Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks male and female athletes of the week this week, and one of them is from CBC. Ralph Dixon was part of the show earlier this week, and then we had actually had a young lady who went 20 for 23 in a softball tournament and drove in 31, hit 4 home runs, 3 triples, 4 doubles, 9 singles, 31 RBIs, but she also went 6-0 on the mound and didn't allow a run. So
it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's
that's hard to overlook. But gentlemen, thank you so much. Have a great day, and we will talk to you guys soon. And anytime you need anything, just give us a call, and we'll do whatever you need. And I greatly appreciate you being part of the show.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Now, little word from Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks and our Pizza Ranch, and we'll be back and replay those interviews. Thanks, gentlemen.
Step into the new when you drive a Chevy. It's time for a fresh approach and a new perspective, and find the Chevy that's right for you. Find new experiences, find new roads. Chevrolet.
Pizza Ranch serves buffet your way.
Don't you mean my way, Mr. Voiceover Guy?
Sure, anyone's way, actually. Request your favorite pizza. We'll make it, bake it, and give you the first slice.
I can add peppers to pepperoni, Stampede on stuffed crust, maybe Texan taco on thin. No tomatoes on my half. How can I convince Mom to let us eat here every night?
It's buffet your way at Pizza Ranch. Say it with me, kid.
Step into the new when you drive a Chevy. It's time for a fresh approach and a new perspective, and find the Chevy that's right for you. Find new experiences, find new roads. Chevrolet.
Hey, welcome back to Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Guy Newcomb, the scoreboard guy, coming to you live from the Pizza Ranch studio here on the Missouri Sports Network, and sponsored by Central Bank of the Ozarks, Stoke Propane, Great Southern Bank, the Bank of Billings, located in Billings, Missouri, and Marionville for your banking needs. Labor's Union, Labor's Local 663 sponsors the show as well. And here in our Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks Athlete of the Week segment, we go to Christian Brothers College High School in St. Louis, Missouri, and CBC head football coach Scott Pingle. Coach Pingle, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having us. I know Ralph and I are both super excited to be with you today.
Outstanding. Well, Coach, Ralph had a big week this past week, but just as the season has gone on, you guys 2-1 on the season. Tell us a little bit about the season up to this point from your standpoint.
We knew our first 3 games were going to be awesome. We played in 3 different states in 3 different weeks. We opened up in Canton, Ohio, playing at the Hall of Fame Classic. We got to play in the Hall of Fame Stadium. It was awesome. We played a team out of Georgia, and we came away with a nice victory, 41-27. Then we traveled over to East St. Louis over in Illinois, and, they kind of got our number, and they handed us our first loss. And then this past week, we played our big rival here in St. Louis, St. Louis U High. And it was atmosphere was awesome. The crowd was great, and our guys performed really well.
That trip you took up to play up at Canton, you understand you guys, did you practice at Ohio State?
Yeah, it's kind of one of those. Yeah, we got to practice at Ohio State, and then we had a couple guys go there through the year, so they're kind of good to you if you can send us some players. So we had got to go up there, practice for about an hour and a half. Guys got to see a little bit of what college football facilities look like, and it got to open their eyes a little bit. It was exciting for sure.
Yeah, and just a little bit on your background, Coach Pango. How long have you been there at CBC? Where'd you go to high school, college, and how'd you arrive at CBC?
Yeah, I'm in my 18th year of education here at CBC, 15th year as the head coach. I came here in 2005 as an assistant under Bob Shannon, and then I got the head job in 2008 season. I came here from a small. I played Division III college football up at Westminster College. I graduated high school from St. Vincent in Perryville, Missouri. So I've been kind of all over a little bit of the state, and I've been living in St. Louis now for quite a while. I've been here for, like I said, 18 years, and I love every minute of it.
Outstanding. One of our Chevy dealers of the Ozarks Athlete of the Week. Ralph went 7 rushes for 148 yards and 4 touchdowns. Tell us a little bit about his performance as you viewed it from the sideline.
Ralph was one of those guys. So what people may or may not know about us, we got 3 dynamic running backs, and Ralph's just one of the trio that at any point we can give the ball at any time. And the coolest thing about Ralph is he's always ready. He always knows his assignment. And, I look like the idiot for only giving him the ball 7 times, but, his production speaks for itself. We had some quick hitting traps. And the thing that Ralph does really well that I think a lot of running backs could learn by watching him is he sees daylight and he hits it. He doesn't try to make it any bigger than it needs to be. He sees daylight and he goes. He gets through the crack, and then he's explosive on the end. I mean, he was pulling away from some state championship sprinters this weekend and did a great job.
Ralph, first, congratulations on behalf of Chevrolet and the Missouri Sports Network for being Athlete of the Week. Tell us a little bit about your performance from you. Did you realize in that limited carries that you had piled up that many yards?
At first I was you just got to stick to it. It started off slow for me. And, I just kept telling myself, one's going to break free, one's going to break free. And having all 5 of my O-linemen return, we have that special connection. So I just knew, like, once it got going, it was gonna take off. So when I first I had a screenplay, and my screenplay really just opened up. Bryce Parsons he was my personal bodyguard running down the field, and my blast play, my 3rd touchdown. Like you said, it's 3 of us, and we got each other back. And Dylan Van had a great block, and it didn't look dangerous, but if you're just a special running back, any play is dangerous. So just take that one to the house. And that trap play, I thought one of their players was going to catch me because he's a very fast player, but I just broke off and scored.
As you're in the huddle and the plays come in, or whether they're signaled in or they're called in or ran in from the sideline, do you have, and I don't want to know what they are, but do you have a couple of maybe your favorite plays? I mean, do you have a play that you really kind of eyes light up when it gets called?
One of my O-line guys like pulling. If they're pulling, I feel very protected, and just any play that they're pulling, that's one of my favorite plays.
Going back, into your freshman year, tell us a little bit about your history. Have you always played the running back position, or is this newer for you? What's been your history with this position?
I always played the running back position. Coming here, they gave me a lot of heat and a lot of motivation because I'm an undersized player, and so it just made me want to work hard and prove a lot of people wrong. So throughout the years, I just kept working and waiting my turn, and when I got my opportunity, I took advantage of it.
As you look back as an underclassman, were there upperclassmen that kind of helped you, kind of mold you, that kind of brought you along? Were there folks you looked up to?
Uh, when I was, sophomore, freshman, Jordan Clay, one of the running backs that came before me, he really helped all three of us, and especially me, like telling me the plays and what to do. Um, last year, even like Aiden and Pat, they just really like helped us, like lead us, and took advantage of everything and really tried to help guide us to just be great football players.
And right now at this point in the season, you're just 3 games in, but you've played some outstanding competition. Coach Pingle talked about playing in 3 different states. You got your rivalry game this past week against SLU. At this point of the season, what do you feel like you're doing really well right now? Is it seeing the holes? Is it being able to just jump on somebody's back or get in their back pocket and follow them? What does that look like? What do you think you're doing really well right now?
Overall, like O-line and running, we just run the ball really well. We knew that we're going to have to have probably like a big load this year, and we're just taking advantage of every opportunity that we can get. Going into like later in the season, I know it's like forward, but like towards the playoffs, like we really need that run game to be very efficient. So we're just getting to that groove right now.
And Ralph, and again, we're visiting with our Chevrolet Athlete of the Week, Ralph Dixon, a senior running back from Christian Brothers College High School in St. Louis. And Ralph, if you could go back to 2018 to that freshman Ralph Dixon, what advice would you give him? Knowing what you know now, what advice would you go back and give yourself as a freshman?
Just stay patient. Your time's gonna come. Don't get in your head too much. They built something here that you can't rush, or like you're not gonna change by yourself. So just buy in and just be patient and just be yourself. When you get the ball, prove everybody wrong.
Very good. Now you've got Chaminade coming up this week. What do you know about Chaminade, and what are some goals that you have going into this contest?
They're searching for a win. They're hungry right now. So we just can't buy into that. We can't play at that level. We just gotta play CBC football and do what we do best. And I just have to do my job, take advantage of all my opportunities, and just be special.
Very good. Well, Ralph, again, it's been a pleasure. Got to watch a little bit of that game, and here at the Missouri Sports Network, so many times on Friday nights, it's pretty hectic because I'll get 8,000 or 9,000 text messages at Scoreboard Guy, throughout the evening. But I did get to watch, and again, on behalf of Chevrolet and the Missouri Sports Network, congratulations.
Thank you.
And Coach Pingle, I really appreciate you setting this up. I know this is real short notice. We just talked about an hour ago about this, and so this happened really quick. But from a coach's standpoint, going into you've been in 3 states, and you're going to have back-to-back games at home. Are you guys relatively healthy going into this game with Chaminade, and what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, we're pretty healthy right now. We got a couple bang ups. That's what happens when you kind of play these tough schedules. That those first 3 weeks, it's kind of feeling out who you are, what you're about. And we got a couple guys that are going to get mended in the training room, but we should have everybody healthy. I'm looking for execution. That's been the big thing. We've had moments of our execution has been very high, but our poor execution has been very bad. So, I know there's going to be ebbs and flows of games, but I don't want those bads to be as bad as they've been. I kind of want to make sure that, okay, doggone it, that was a bad play, but we still gained 3 yards. That's the message. We're a team that usually doesn't have negative plays, and we've had too many negative plays in the first 3 games.
Very good. Coach, again, thank you so much. Ralph, congratulations, gentlemen. Hey, tremendous luck as you go forward, and hopefully we'll get to sit down and talk a little CBC cadet football again throughout the season.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
You bet. You're watching the Missouri Sports Network at MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage, coming to you live from the Pizza Ranch studio. Keep it right here. And as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us to take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe, be smart, and be here tomorrow. Hey, welcome back to the Missouri Sports Network. Great to catch up with Coach Pingle and our Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks Athlete of the Week, male Athlete of the Week. And now we're going to hear from our female Athlete of the Week. here going to Morrisville, Missouri. Stay tuned.
Step into the new when you drive a Chevy. It's time for a fresh approach and a new perspective. And find the Chevy that's right for you. Find new experiences, find new roads. Chevrolet.
Hello once again, sports fans, and welcome to the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Coming to you live from the Pizza Ranch studio, and as always, presented by Central Bank of the Ozarks, Doak Propane. Great Southern Bank with more than 100 locations in 6 states. They care as much about your money as you do. Labor's Local 663 and the Bank of Billings with locations in Billings and Marionville. Certainly glad that you have tuned in today. And as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us to take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Going just a few miles down the road here outside the studio at Pizza Ranch to Marion C. Early High School in Morrisville, Missouri. And Marion C. Early High School softball coach Mike McCullen. Coach Mac, hey, thanks so much for your time today.
No problem. Thank you, guys, for having us on today.
First off, you guys won 6 in a row, and a young lady sitting next to you has had a big part of that. But just team-wise, just talk about how well the Lady Panthers are playing right now.
Well, currently we are 9-6 going into today's game against Marshville. We started the season with our own tournament. We went 1-3, but it's a very competitive tournament with a lot of big schools in that. And then we went to play Hermitage and Republic, another tough opponent, which is in Republic. And then we went to Columbia for a weekend over Labor Day weekend to play 3 quality teams up there. And then, like I said, the last 6 games have been on a 6-game winning streak with Max Creek win the Walnut Grove tournament last weekend. And this week would be Hillcrest and Bolivar. So we're bouncing back from that slow start, but our schedule is tough for a 1A schedule for our team. But in the long run, I think that's going to help us down the road when we go into the districts.
And talk to that point, your Class 1 districts are just probably maybe a month away, not that far away. Talk a little bit about that district. Where is it being held, and who are the members of that district?
Yeah, like I said, it's about a month away, and we're going to host it this year here at MCE. And the other teams in it will be us, obviously, Walnut Grove, Dadeville, Halfway, and Fair Play. And it's October 11th to the 15th here at our place, and we're looking forward to hosting again this year.
You know, you mentioned your tournament. Our team of the week from a couple of weeks ago came out of your tournament with Sherwood. Had that group on, and a very talented, also a smaller school that participated in your tournament, had a great showing.
Oh, correct. They're Class 2. They're ranked in the state, obviously, in Class 2, and they won for the last 2 years our own tournament. And we do play them later in the year, right before district. So that'd be another test, a good test for us before we go into district play. And with us, with our team, we're ranked 8th in the state in Class 1. It just came out this week. So that's an honor for these young girls to achieve and to be proud of.
And the young lady sitting next to you had, well, a week that maybe people have on Nintendo, but to have that on the field is it's incredible. I mean, it's 20 of 23 from the plate, from out of the batter's box, 870 batting average, 31 RBIs. And this is just over 6 games, 9 singles, 4 doubles, 3 triples, and 4 home runs to go along with that 31 RBIs. And not only that, but Haley on the mound was 6-0, 22 innings, 41 strikeouts, and just 6 walks, through a no-hitter and 3 one-hitters over that time. But Haley, on behalf of the Missouri Sports Network and the Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks, congratulations on being named an Athlete of the Week. What are your thoughts as you look back on you probably never had a week like that?
No. I don't know, really. I mean, obviously, it's not just me. It takes my whole team to accomplish it. But I honestly, looking back on the week, I didn't even realize it was that great of a week until listening about it. So, honestly, it's really impressive. And that's honestly, I couldn't be more proud of me. But I'm also really proud of my team because I definitely have to have a defense on my back, and it doesn't just take me hitting to win a game. I have to have everybody's help behind me. So.
Well, let's start at the plate first here. 20 of 23. You know, were the balls just looking like, you know, big beach balls coming in? I mean, what was going on there? Did you just get in a groove? And why would somebody keep pitching to you?
I don't know. I mean, I think right now I'm on a really good streak. I'm having a really fun time. Honestly, it's really fun every time I go up to the hit, and I've not got a lot of stress on me right now. But I would say that there was a game where I tried to get walked, but I didn't let them. I went ahead and hit it anyways. But I don't know. I mean, I'm just having a really good season, and it's a lot of fun. Not having a lot of stress.
Yeah. Have you developed any superstitions? Are there things now that, okay, I did this week, I'm going to keep doing, I'm eating this candy bar, or I'm drinking this glass of lemonade, or, I mean, are you doing something every day?
Tylenol. I don't know. I've always been very against superstitions. So before every game, I'm purposely stepping on the line because, you know, you're not supposed to step on the line. But I don't know. I think what's got me going right now is that I'm not overthinking anything when I'm going up to hit. I'm just really just doing it to have fun and making the most of the season while I've still got it. You know, it's my cousin's last season, our shortstop, Lauren, and it's my last time I'm ever going to get to play with her, and I've played with her my whole life, so I'm trying to make it the best I can before she's gone. So.
Now 6-0 in the circle. How do you get prepared? Let's say, are you throwing tonight against Marshfield?
Yes.
Okay. What's your day like? What's your routine like as you try and get prepared?
Honestly, I would say through the school day, I really don't think about the game. I try to just get my schoolwork done because it's really hard. But I would say when it comes time to get on the bus is really when I focus in on what I'm going to do in the game. And then when it's time to warm up before the game, when I'm warming up pitching, that's when I really know how the game's going to go, is how my warm-ups go. So, I mean, just go with the groove, I guess.
Is there a certain pitch? You don't have to tell me what it is, but you know, you're in the bullpen, you're trying to get warm up. Is there a certain pitch that if it's working for you, you feel like, hey, I'm going to have a really good day today because I can locate this wherever I want to?
Probably my curveball, my changeup, both of them. So.
Very good. Very good. Well, once again, Haley Presley, on behalf of the Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks and the Missouri Sports Network, congratulations on being named an Athlete of the Week. And again, these are you could go 0 for the rest of the year and probably still hit 400. But just very, very impressive week. I don't think I've seen numbers like this in a long time. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Coach Mack, you've got Marshfield tonight. What are you going to have to do tonight to come out on top?
Well, just like I've told the girls before, we concentrate on three areas of the game: hitting, defense, and pitching. And I always tell them, if we win all three of those areas, most of the time we're going to come out with a victory. And that's been our goal all year, you know, with those three things right there.
Very good. Are you guys relatively healthy at this point? I mean, have you stayed relatively injury free?
Oh yes, we have. I mean, we play a lot of games. We're 9-6. That's 15 games in about 3.5 weeks. So, and we got tonight, and then we go to Wablo tournament this weekend. It seems like we play 3 or 4 games every week. So I would say, like yesterday, we took a light practice just to keep our legs underneath for the rest of this week. And that's probably what's going to be the rest of the season. Just play our games to the best of our ability and do some, you know, readjustment at practice, get focused for the next game.
And, you know, with Misha changing its rules this year with regards to the number of tournaments, it used to be limited and things. They've kind of turned it into, okay, you can play this many games no matter how you get there. Has that been an advantage? Have you taken advantage of that?
Yes, like I told someone the other day, we'll play, if we get all our games in our schedule, we'll play 30 games before our first district game. So, you know, we've been in 3 tournaments. We win that round robin at Columbia at Battle High School. So we're going to have a lot of games. And, you know, Haley's going to pitch majority of those, and she can do it. She's been there. She's a junior. She knows the situation. She does a good job for the team. She's a cheerleader on the bench. encouragement. You know, she's the team leader for us right now, and she does a great job for the team.
Very good. Well, Coach McCullen, I certainly appreciate you helping us set this up here for the Missouri Sports Network. And again, Haley, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Guy.
You are watching Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com from the Pizza Ranch studio. And we will talk to you soon.
Pizza Ranch serves buffet your way.
Don't you mean my way, Mr. Voiceover Guy?
Sure, anyone's way, actually. Request your favorite pizza. We'll make it, bake it, and give you the first slice.
I can add peppers to pepperoni, Stampede on stuffed crust, maybe Texan taco on thin. No tomatoes on my half. How can I convince Mom to let us eat here every night?
It's buffet your way at Pizza Ranch. Say it with me, kid.
Hey, welcome back to the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com here in high school game day. We've wrapped up another one here. It's 5:57 as you're heading out to your local contest, whether it be soccer, volleyball, softball, football, or cross country. Hey, take that 3 seconds and buckle up. 3 seconds that could save your life, and keep it right here at MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. And tune in for Friday Night Live at 9:30, and we'll be posting things from around the state, maybe get some live look-ins here. But certainly glad you've tuned in. Everyone have a great day. Good night. God bless.